We have two amazing animators and illustrative storytellers with us. How cool is that? We have Ra Crawford, who is also a creative director for BFF 2020. Ra Crawford, World Owned Arts and Entertainment. And then we have R. Xavier Smith, um, Second Tribes Entertainment. We are so glad that you are both joining us today on this Sunday morning. So please take it away.
All right, can you hear me?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Xavier, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How you doing, Rob?
Hey, man, it's so great to be here with you chatting. How are you doing today, my brother?
Oh my God, I'm very happy. It's get a little chill in Vegas. I'm in here. I live in Henderson.
Okay.
I'd like to first off thank you guys. Quebe, Sumaya, Ra, the Bushwick Film Festival. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. I appreciate you guys. I love what you're doing, and hey, I hope I can come back next year and year after that.
Hey, I know you keep producing content, so many ways we can collaborate. So,
Yeah.
It's great to have this chat with you, and as creative director, I wanted to carve out time this year specifically to talk about illustrative storytelling,
Yes.
art forms like comics, graphic novels, animation. And for me personally, this is the origin of my background, as a visual artist. So it's an honor to be able to speak with you, CEO and founder of Two Tribes. So tell the people, I know you're working on some really amazing stories right now. Tell us, when you founded Two Tribes, give everyone an idea of what's happening right now, what you guys are doing.
Okay, I'm not nervous, y'all. I'm just excited because this is very fun. Okay, so my name is Ryan Xavier, or I go by Xavier. My dad called me the X-Man when I was born. I hail from Pontiac, Michigan, outside of Detroit. About 9 years ago, I started Two Tribes Entertainment. The goal behind Two Tribes was actually my family, my kids, my culture. I wanted to express bringing very strong IPs, which IP stands for intellectual properties, that kind of look back at some of our Native American history, the African history, and African American history. And years back, there was not a lot of kids of color on television. So that was one of the things I wanted to bring on and say, hey, you know what, let's create a company that we create brands, create IPs, but also, control the licensing and, and help, share with children like, hey, you can be creative too. So one of the things, and my background, sorry, I didn't tell you my background, I was a toy designer, guys, and a sculptor. I make monsters, I make monster masks. I'm also an artist like Ra. I used to draw and design, and then I damaged my drawing finger. So, hey, that's what happened. But anyways, I kept going and kept going. And then, True Tribes was one of those things I had to create. It just, God was like, you have to create this company to make new IPs. So one of the first things I worked on was SeaWorld. I created the Octoforce, underwater superheroes based on a lot of tribes and a lot of the world, just octopus and, sharks and things like that. So SeaWorld was one of the first companies I worked on. But recently, if I can share, I wanted to let people know, like, hey, I started working with Stedman Graham, Oprah's partner, Stedman. We met here in Vegas, and that's the same year I met Ra at the licensing show at Mandalay Bay. We met here, and this big tall guy come walking up to me. We shook hands, and he's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I create monsters, I create IPs, I create things like that." So and that's how that happened. So I'm gonna share the screen with you guys. I'm gonna show you what and we created these kids here. If you can see it, it's called the Coogee Funza Kids. So it's one of those things we were like, hey, Stedman was like, hey, I want to create some kids and I want to create a show and so kids of color around the world can see themselves on television. So we create these guys here. I'm gonna show some more. And the idea behind this is I used the African flags, and it was no disrespect to any of the countries. It was just I picked flags that I could create colors behind. And we came up with ideas. Stedman loved it. He was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. So now what we're doing is the goal is to get this out in the market. We're going to have a CGI, I think more preschool. We wanted to be preschool, 3 to 5, 3 to 6, early education. But give the kids the sense to say, hey, you know what, that kid looks like me. That kid's look like me, no matter what the hairstyle, color was, style was. But yeah, this is where we are at right now with Two Tribes.
Oh,
So
all right.
right, and so Ra, you're also a storyteller.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
tell me, yeah, you are a very amazing storyteller and great creative director. I love the logo. I mean, it was amazing.
Oh,
So
thank you, thank you.
tell me, Ra, what you're working on right now. What are you working on right now?
Yeah, I'm really excited. You know, again, shout out to the whole BFF team. You know, I'm a designer and visual artist. That's my origin. But you know, in way back in the day when I was a kid, you know, I was always doing like, you know, like comic books and illustrations. You know, and always storytelling, always stories and characters in my head. You know, in my sketchbook. But right now, I've recently completed a feature film script, and I'm really excited about that. It's called Ganji, a Love Story. It's an epic adventure about a young couple that risks everything for love when they fight to end the generational war between their tribes. You know, and like you could describe this story as like a heroic version of Romeo and Juliet, you know, where the protagonists, whose names are Dande and Ayla, they choose to fight for their love instead of giving in to the pressures against them. So I'll share my screen as well with you and show you a couple of things here. So let's see, you can see that. Can you see
Oh,
that?
beautiful. Yes, beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it.
So yeah, this is the you know, like the cover art for it here. These are the two main characters, Dande and Ayla. Here are some close-up images of the two. And this was, you know, I started this as a pencil sketch, and then I colored it, you know, digitally.
Yeah,
And
beautiful,
there's some more
beautiful.
detail in there. Yeah. So, and that's it there. GanjiLoveStory, you know, .com is the website where I'm kind of keeping, you know, like a work journal
Right.
of everything, you know, as well as a podcast about the project. So, you know, I'm really excited about that, and I'm proud, you know, because this story, you know, in developing this story, I've spent like over a decade, honestly, developing this story.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's been some time, and it was about, you know, sometime last year, I happened to meet one of the partners. Shout out to Steve from Mandela Media. You know, Nelson Mandela's company, family has formed a media company with some other partners. So I met
Yes.
one of the partners, Steve. We got into a conversation, showed him the script. He was really excited about it. So we're in like pre-talks about developing this project, you know, and shout out to Evan as well, Evan Parter. One of his suggestions was to, you know, create a graphic novel, you know. So, you know, that being my background, you know, illustration, comics, and storytelling, I was kind of excited about that. I was like, so the idea of now taking this feature film script and creating, you know, a graphic novel. So that's the next mission that I'm on right now. And we're going to do that before we even, you know, get into the feature film aspect of it. So I'm excited. You know, I have my sleeves rolled up in that. And I love, you know, again, I love the visual storytelling. I love stories as a whole. That's why I'm involved with Bushwick Film Festival. And, you know, and writing is its own thing. But I'm used to doing storyboards and illustrations. So it's nice to kind of to build that out and have that experience, you know. So it's pretty exciting, you know. And when we think about illustration and storytelling, you know, like for me, you know, like when you go back to your childhood, so like tell me, like, what was your first introduction with like illustration and artwork with storytelling?
Oh my goodness. So as we talked before, Rob, my mom was a social worker and school teacher. My dad was the artist of the family. Like he's this left-hand artist. He was a draftsman. He's worked for GM. I mean, he's designed churches around the world. I mean, he was an artist and a chef. So for me, picking up the #2 pencil and the silly putty, that was my thing. You know what I mean? I used to draw my own comic books. Me and my brothers, and sisters, we all are artists. We all used to draw in competition. Saturday mornings was cool because we woke up, you know, the first thing we do is sit at the table, we eat a box of cereal, and whoever drew the best Captain Crunch or Sugar Smack would get a candy bar, you know, and we'd be in competition of drawing so many things on Saturday morning. It'd just be so fun, you know. We would be in competition. But my mom, you know, she would read me stories at night, and then she would like, hey, why don't you make your own ideas? Why don't you create your own ideas? And that's where it started for me. So just drawing, having Play-Doh, silly putty. Like I said, the #2 pencil has always been my best friend. I would fall asleep with a pencil in my hand. My mom would come and grab it out. She'd be like, okay. And I had clay in one hand and a pencil in the other hand. She'd be like, what? So that's pretty much where it comes from. And I love comic books. I was this close to working for Todd McFarlane, but I had a bad car accident. Like I said, I lost my drawing finger. That was a heartbreaker. And then I was going to make toys with them as well, but it just didn't happen. But, you know, I started drawing for other studios and companies and doing other things. And, here we are today.
Oh, exactly. Oh, wow. That's pretty exciting. I know, like, for me, similar, my first, memory of storytelling, period, was
Yeah.
definitely from books. I remember sitting on my mom's lap and being read bedtime stories. It was kind of that part of the night or the evening you get excited, and just kind of seeing those, those two-dimensional images sit there on a page. But once you
Right.
see those and you hear the words of the story, like they come to life in your mind. I think that's the beautiful, the beauty of comic books, right? You can read the words
Yes.
and from panel to panel, but in between that, in your mind, like the characters are moving, they're running, buildings are
Yeah.
blowing up. It's
Oh
like
my
an epic
goodness.
adventure, So I love that, So I've always been into comics as a child. Like I collected comic books, started making my own, similar to what you were saying. I have a collection of sketchbooks, honestly, to go back to like elementary school. So I
Oh my
still have
goodness.
those. So that's still exciting, and then later when I got older, like one of my like ultimate childhood fantasies, I got a chance to actually work for DC Comics. And yeah, that was like really exciting. I had my own office. I was right across the street from the David Letterman show, which was really cool about DC Comics. Shout out to DC Comics. What they do is really cool. Like every week, they would drop off like a stack of fresh comics at your office, everything they printed or released that week. So like after a while, everyone's office just had like towers of comic books all around because you just get so much content. And so while I was working with them, I got a chance to, work in a licensing department and work on, assets for the Green Lantern film.
Right.
I also had the privilege of kind of redesigning DC Comics, like their core style guide, which was called DC Originals, which included like Superman, Batman, like Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, all of those. So, and even had a chance to take some passes at the DC Comics company logo as well for rebranding for them.
Wow.
Yeah, so again, when I think about storytelling as a whole, if someone says storytelling to me, for me, I immediately think it's like storyboards, and I think of comics,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think of illustration. So it was important for me to be able to have this kind of conversation with a creative like yourself,
Right.
this year for the
Yes.
13th annual Bushwick Film Festival. And
Yes.
so another question, like Xavier,
Yes. Go ahead.
this year's festival is about transformation and change. The
Yes.
festival is all about diversity and inclusion. So
Mhm.
why is diversity, inclusion, why is that important for Two Tribes
Oh
and
my
the
goodness.
stories you're telling?
Oh my God. You guys, the Bushwick Film Festival is just amazing to me. I've had this conversation with Stedman, and then I got to give a shout out to Mike DeSev. He's actually in New York. He's actually in Brooklyn, Baboon Animation, and also the African Animation Network over in South Africa. So we've had this conversation many times. We've talked about like, bringing everybody together, but then there's a lack of kids my color, my kids color, uh, uh, just it's just one of those things where you say to yourself, why isn't there more content on television or out in the market for more kids of color and diversity and multiculturalism? So that's where I think we're going in that direction. That's one of the main reasons I created Two Tribes, was to show people more diversity. It's coming along right now. It's coming along a little bit better, but we need more. I mean, Black Panther was a hit, rest in peace, Chad Boswick. And it was just, when I saw that movie, it was so amazing. I felt like I was in there. And I'm sure you understand what you mean. I mean, I was Black Panther,
Yes.
it didn't matter which team I was on. I just wanted to be in there. But that's where we're going. And me and you had conversations about that, creating new IPs and bringing new ideas to the platforms together as a team and uniting. And I think that's where we really need. I mean, there's been so much going on, so many, the police brutality, the Me Too thing. It's just so much going on in 2020. It's been one of the years. I've lost 17 people to the COVID. So it's just, this year has been really, really crazy. So for me, diversity and unity is what we've been trying to tell people that we're trying to expose over from Two Tribes. It's just, it needs to be done. I mean, America has to wake up. America has to unify. I mean, we are the best country in the world, but yet we're being put down as a country, but we have to become, unified. That's where we're going, in all
Yeah.
honesty.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that 100%. And I also believe, you know, again, which is part of the vision and the theme of the festival this year, that, you know, like you said, everything like the glass ceilings, you know, breaking is literally cracking, and all those old myths and ideas, you know, even the archetypes, right, of like what kind of person is good and what kind of person is bad, like all of those are crumbling and being done away with. Like we're tired of those, you know. We need new visions of the hero. Even again, I'm talking about these, like Superman's great is an archetype, you know, but it's of the past. We need new visions of what a hero can be, you know. Female, empowered females, diversity, women of color, like all of these different things that are coming up right now. And so we need those stories. And that's why personally, I'm excited about, you know, working with the Bushwick Film Festival and such a great team, because that's what it strives to do. So, and I think you and I, you know, as far as like illustration, you know, because we were both mentioning, you know, going back to our childhood of our first contacts, you know, being like storybooks and comic books. That's important because young kids, you start flipping through those comics or pages or like what kind of bedtime stories you're being read. And that's how you start to identify yourself and figure out your role in this world. So I think the work that you guys are doing at Two Tribes is really amazing. And I personally look forward to collaborating with you guys more. My project Angie, like we definitely see an animated version of that. So let's say that here publicly, like we're doing that. Like, you know, there's my virtual hand.
I know, right?
That's right. You know, let's do it.
Let me say mine. And also Bushwick Film Festival, Ra is going to be working with me and Stedman on his project. So it's going to be really cool. So, you know, this is kind of unifying us, you know, as, you know, we both have our history of being African-American and Native American and things like that. So it's important to show people that, you know, different companies. I mean, I'm based in Henderson, Nevada, you're based in New York. So it's like, hey, you know what? People from around the world can collaborate. My artists are worldwide that I work with. You know, they don't work in the studio. I have artists I work with in Indonesia, Detroit, you know, my home. I have some in New Orleans. So, you know, talking about, you know, this year, that's one of the #1 things in the world is to unify each other, unify your company, work with other teams. I was listening to the cast earlier. You know, networking is a huge thing, and I'm glad me and you networked, because when we met, you know, it was cool. You know, you were showing me what you were doing, and I'm like, hey, I'm based here, and you know, it was cool. Rob was showing me on the tablet, and I'm glad we reconnected, because God made it happen for us to work together again. So this is very cool for us to be starting what we get ready to start. I mean, watch out, people. We get ready.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So
and
tell
that
us.
Story you have is amazing. It looks beautiful. The artwork, I'm loving it, brother. I'm loving it.
Thank you. So what tips, any, you know, a couple tips for, you know, upcoming creators, illustrators, storytellers?
Let me tell you this, be limitless. Stay limitless. Keep your drive. Like, my family and my friends, they always ask me, what keeps you going? Why you keep going? I mean, I had 4 years ago where I had a bad car accident. I had pretty much a broken back. I was still in the hospital bed drawing. I was like, bring me some clay. I want to make some stuff. So my wife, bring me some clay. So, you know, everyone out there, I don't care how old you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what planet you're from. Keep the drive going. If you have intellectual property or IP, keep going. If you are up and coming writer and producer like I am, you know, I gotta learn too, you know, just like that. I gotta climb the ladder too. Keep going. Do not let people tell you no. And if you get a no, take that as a plus. Bring that energy in to make you keep going, keep fighting. Do not, and for all the young kids out there, dream. Like, and I'm not just saying that just to say that, like dream, like say I see myself maybe getting an Emmy for my cartoon, or getting a licensing award for creating a cool IP for a show. Just keep on going, keep on going. It's going to work out. I mean, look at me. I'm in my 40s, but this is the best time of my life. You know, I'm living. I'm great. God has been good for me. So, and you know, I get to connect with people like Ra and the BFF, and you guys are amazing, and I'm loving it. And then Stedman. I mean, my God, it's really cool to work with Stedman, because I got to tell you guys a quick story. And I asked him when I met him, I'm like, how come you and Oprah haven't done a show together or anything like that together? And, you know, he's like, hey, you know, it's just, that's her thing. But me and him got to talking, and we learned each other, and I got to change his mind about like, hey, how about we make a show for kids, education, and empower them? He said yes. And for me to get Stephen to change the yes for that, it is amazing. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this. So, he's happy with how things are going, and we're both happy. And he's like a father figure to me, and he also is a good businessman with me. So, God has been good. But that's where we're at right now.
That's a beautiful thing. And I think following what you said, my tips for up and coming creators, folks would be, because, they live in a different world than we lived in coming up. I think when I was young, I had my sketchbook and I had pencils and I had very few distractions in the world. We didn't have, the internet, how it is, and social media and Twitter and all these other things, and your thumbs, big thumbs from all the work you're doing on social media. So my suggestion would be, sometimes you got to have a schedule of when you're doing the social media stuff, right? So sometimes you just got to just shut that garbage off for a while and just be heads down and creating. And sometimes when you're creating, don't share everything. Like, oh, I made one sketch, let me post it. Then you're waiting for feedback from that. And if you don't get like above 20 likes, then you're like, oh, maybe it wasn't a good idea. There's a certain time to share with things with the public, and then there's times not to share. So I would say, like, share less, create more, and learn, learn more about the skill that you're doing. As far as like drawing, or if you're illustrating, do it all the time. Just do lots of it and really get your skills up and your ability up. And in reality, things take time. Nothing happens overnight. And also, again, we live in a world where we think it happens overnight. And when we see posts from people on social media or your peers, it might be like, wow, they just popped up and made that happen. And realistically, it's not. Like I told you, the feature film, the script I've been writing is over a decade. My exhibition before that, Welcome to Earth, spanned nearly a decade, the 12 or 13 years. So it takes time. And, again, social media and what you see online is an illusion as far as the sense of time. It actually takes time. So I would say give yourself the proper time and just kind of commit to something for the long haul, and stay inspired. Keep learning, learn, and keep creating,
That's beautiful. And definitely, like I heard earlier from someone speaking, hone on your craft. Like if you're an artist, keep drawing, and there's nothing wrong with an artist becoming a director or producer or a writer. That's where I am. I mean, I went from a toy designer to now, a sculptor, to, IP creator, to now I'm creating television show ideas. And now, I want to do film stuff. So, and it's one of those things you just have to stick to the plan, but enjoy it, have fun. And a lot of people don't have fun. Like you were saying earlier, even my sons, I have 2 of them in the house right now. I'm like, hey, put the computer down, get that pencil and draw something. Show me something, And I have a 4-year-old that, she's got silly putty and she's got Play-Doh. She's making monsters with me, you know what I mean?
All right.
She's one of the co-creators of the show. Like, I tell, like, I'm putting crayons in her hand because she has a tablet and we trying to hide it and get it away from her. Be like, put that Play-Doh in your hand. And here she is making monsters now. And I'm like, oh, this is me all over again. Thank you, God. I got one of them.
Yeah, that's great. So tell everybody, how can they, get in contact with you? How can they learn more things about what Two Tribes is doing? Okay,
so everybody here, I'm still new to Instagram. I'm sorry, Two Tribes don't have an Instagram yet. I'm working on it. But I am on LinkedIn, r.xaviersmith. You can also visit us at www.iitribesentertainment.com, Two Tribes Entertainment. Just leave me a message. I personally, if someone emails me, I personally email them back. Like sometimes you can, my wife, she's a VP of the company, or she'll do it, or, we have someone else get back in touch with somebody. But I'm personal with people. I'm one of them people, I'm so personal. That's why this COVID thing driving me crazy. I wish I could have flown over to the BFF in New York. I would have done it too. I would have been over in New York. I got family over there. So reach out to me, say hello, and then on Instagram, I do have just a personal page, but I still say hello. It's at House That Xavier Built. That's me. That's how you get in touch with me. Say hello, say hi. And also on the website, we're going to be putting up there, news on what we're working on, the thing with Stedman, African animation, me and yourself, I'm gonna be dropping you on there pretty soon,
Sure.
So we're just gonna have this unity and creativity of a family. I call it the creativity village. That's where we are right now.
There you go.
Creativity village. So don't steal that. I got copyright that.
All good. I just want to be in the village. I'll be cool.
We in the village. We got huts in the village. We got pen, paper.
Exactly.
Get in touch with me.
Oh, cool. And I would say the same thing for anybody who's interested in learning about the story, the screenplay that I wrote called Ganji Love Story. You can check out the website, ganjilovestory.com. I just put it up there in the chat. Shout out to my wife as well. She built the site for Ganji Love Story, and she pushed and did a lot of work to get that up on time for our conversation. So shout out to her. Love you. So, I mean, hey, it looks, I think, you know, our time is up here, but Xavier, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you guys.
I love everything you're doing with Two Tribes. I look forward to chatting with both you and Stedman, ways we can collaborate and do some amazing things, you know?
Thank you so much, BFF. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for this. You know, it's so good to connect, you know, with people from different parts of the world, different parts of the country, different cities, you know. Hey, like I said, unite. Like all we have to do is unite. We will be more powerful united. Trust me. Thank you so much. I'm very humble, and blessings to everybody. Be safe.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Yeah, there were some requests before to see the artwork that we were sharing previously. They wanted to see that again. So maybe let's do another round of that.
You want to go first? Or you want
I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go first. I'll share my screen. All right, here we go.
It's all good.
Yeah. So 1 sec. Let me share my screen here.
It's all beautiful work.
All right.
Man.
Can you see it here?
Yes, it's beautiful, brother.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the promo poster for Ganji Love Story.
Such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna make sure we take this to the top somewhere, bro.
Oh, for sure, for sure. There's a detailed shot. Those are the two main protagonists, Dande and Ayila. So these two live in two separate tribes. You know, like I said, the story is similar to like a Romeo and Juliet situation where you have the two tribes that are warring. But you know, what's very different about these two characters is that they fight for their love. You know, instead of succumbing to the pressures around them. You know.
I know.
Yeah, there's some more detail, and I won't give away too much of the story, but you know,
I know, right?
It's the lion has a central, integral part to play in it, and so you can definitely check it out. GanjiLoveStory.com. I want to say also, you know, I created a podcast as I was developing the project. Like every morning for me, I start my day like at 6 a.m., like sketching at my table, and I kind of press record. And I started just kind of having top of mind, you know. Thoughts about the project, and I was realizing, you know, with many stories, sometimes when you're writing these stories, you're tapping into your own personal experience, you know, in your life. And as I was talking about these everything at morning, because at 6 a.m., you know, my brain's not necessarily online, but my hands moving. So it's like it was like therapy, and it was really good for me to speak about these things. So check it out. Check out the podcast. There's about 8 episodes. The first 3 episodes of the podcast are up on the website. You can check it out. And let me know what you think. So let's
okay. So here, I'll go back and show you guys. So here is one of the logos. This is a logo we just felt that kids would have fun with and love. And you know, right now, like, you know, Ra is going to definitely be a part of helping me put the creative directions on this, you know, because we're both creative directors, and that's a cool thing, and I love that. So, you know, we want to do the backpacks and the toy designs and stuff like that. So it's going to be pretty fun here, guys. Give me 1 second. Here's another one. Let's see if you guys see that. So these kids, you know, right here, you know, this is Tariq. This is Ayana. This is Kwame. That's Zaire. That's Imani. And that's Zori. And let me share with the other ones. So this is Tala. This is Zoya. This is Malik. And that's Defari. And so what we wanted to do, we wanted the kids to just have fun. We wanted them to look good. We wanted every skin color we could imagine to put on these kids, so no one felt like, hey, that doesn't look like me. That doesn't look like me. But we wanted, you know, to have fun with this. But that's what this is about, y'all. You know, that unity. All
right. Yeah, that's really cool. A question popped up here. I saw. So someone asked, will there be any casting for a voiceover artist for your projects?
You know, we will. I think what we're doing right now, because it's in development, and once we've, because we have some partners already for distribution. So once we figure out the episodes, once we get everything together, we're going to be looking for all of that. You know, and because this is, even though they're African characters, we kind of want to bring everybody in,
Absolutely.
obviously we want to have a lot of main characters have the voices of kids from around the world, or however we're going to set this up. But yeah, there will be voiceovers for that, because there's going to be teachers in this. There's going to be musical drums in here. I mean, it's going to be really cool. I don't want to give you too much, but it's going to be a lot of music, a lot of dancing, a lot of art. You're going to see some really fun stuff going on here with the Coogee Funds of Kids. You're going to see a lot of that.
Man, that's really exciting. That's really exciting. And it's always, exciting and hard work, kind of breaking new ground, I know similarly, with my story, with Ganji, the main characters, again, Dande and Ila, at the center of the story, like it's a love story, it's a human centric love story. And the love, and not just about romantic love, it's the basic idea of like inclusive and exclusive love. Inclusive love says, hey, Xavier, come on in here, come on in the village, let's collab, let's be a part. Exclusive love says, nah, man, I don't know you. You don't live in the same city that I live in. You don't live in the same town. Get out of here. I only love people that are in my town. But it's interesting, but because we're seeing this type of love play out on the grand stage, right? In the world, everything's so separate right now, and you have like whatever your political party is, whatever your race is. So there's just so much separate. So we need, we definitely need more inclusive love. And so that what I'm excited about this story in particular is that, again, it's a human-centric story. It doesn't matter what color or race, the characters are, or the person, if you're watching the film, to enjoy the film. And that's my goal. I just wanted to have a universal appeal. You know what I mean? So again, I think we are at our time now, Xavier. Once again, we'll have more conversations that aren't public facing, and I look forward to it.
Thank you, Samaya.
Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Rod. That was so amazing. I look forward to seeing those projects. You both are so talented.